This is the Imarku 14-piece Japanese Gyutou stainless steel knife set with block. I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. When I opened the box, everything was packed separately and protected well. Setup was simple. I removed the covers, washed and dried each piece, then placed everything into the labeled slots in the block. The block does take up some counter space, but the tiered shape keeps it from feeling too bulky. The set includes an 8-inch chef knife, an 8-inch slicing knife, an 8-inch bread knife, a 7-inch santoku knife, a 5-inch utility knife, and a 3.5-inch paring knife. It also comes with 6 serrated steak knives and a pair of kitchen shears. The wooden block holds everything in one place and has a sharpener built into it. That capacity has been enough for the cooking I normally do. I use the chef knife and santoku most often. The utility knife is handy for smaller vegetables, sandwiches, and quick jobs where the chef knife feels larger than necessary. I use the paring knife for fruit, trimming, and peeling. The bread knife goes through crusty loaves without pressing the soft center down too much. The knives arrived sharp. The edges are ground to about 15 degrees on each side, so they feel thinner than the edges on some heavier German-style knives I have used. I noticed this right away when cutting tomatoes. The chef knife passed through the skin without much pressure. It also handled carrots, cucumbers, onions, and sweet potatoes without getting stuck too often. The santoku feels controlled during quick chopping. I used it for onions, herbs, and boneless meat. The balance sits close to where the blade meets the handle, so I did not feel like the knife was pulling my wrist forward. These knives are not especially heavy. I like that for longer meal prep, though someone who prefers a thick and weighty knife may find them a little light. The slicing knife worked well for cooked meat. Its length made it easier to use longer strokes instead of sawing back and forth. I still had to use normal technique and let the edge do the work. It is sharp, but it does not make uneven food or poor cutting angles disappear. The steak knives are serrated and useful for more than steak. I have used them for rolls, sandwiches, and foods with a firm outside and softer center. Having 6 matching steak knives is practical when several people are eating. They stay stored in the block instead of taking up space in a drawer. I also ended up using the kitchen shears more than I expected. They worked for trimming poultry, cutting herbs, opening food packaging, and cutting parchment paper. They include a nutcracker and bottle opener, although I mainly use them as regular kitchen scissors. The blades feel firm, and the handles give me enough room to hold them without pinching my fingers. The full-tang construction was one reason I paid attention to this set. The steel runs through the handle rather than stopping where the blade begins. I have owned cheaper knives where the handle started to loosen near that joint. I have not felt movement here, even when cutting dense vegetables. Food and moisture also have fewer obvious gaps to collect in. The handles feel smooth but stable. The textured pattern helps when my hands are slightly damp, although I still dry my hands before using any sharp knife. The shape feels comfortable in my grip. I did not notice sharp corners or pressure points during normal preparation. The built-in sharpener is convenient, but I use it lightly. A few controlled passes are enough for a quick touch-up. I would not run the knives through it every day because removing too much metal can shorten the life of an edge. It is useful when a knife starts feeling less clean on tomato skin or other delicate foods. One thing I was concerned about was maintenance. Stainless steel is easier to care for than carbon steel, but it can still develop spots if it stays wet. I wash these knives by hand and dry them right away. I do not put them in the dishwasher. Dishwasher detergent, heat, and contact with other utensils can dull the edges and mark the finish over time. The blade faces can also hold onto moist food. I notice some potato and cucumber slices sticking to the side during straight downward cuts. That happens with many smooth knives, but it is still worth mentioning. Knives with deeper hollow ground sections may release wet vegetables a little more easily. The block keeps exposed edges away from my hands and gives every piece a clear place. I like not having loose knives in a drawer. The dark finish looks simple, though it may show dust and small marks depending on the lighting. I wipe it with a slightly damp cloth and dry it instead of soaking it. Compared with lower-cost sets I have used, this one feels more consistent from knife to knife. The handles do not feel loose, and the factory edges were even. Compared with heavier forged German sets, these knives feel lighter and a bit easier to move. That difference is personal. I prefer lighter knives for chopping several ingredients, while other people may want more weight behind each cut. I think this set makes sense for someone who cooks regularly and wants the common knife types stored together. It is also useful for a household that needs 6 steak knives. It may be more than necessary for someone who only uses one chef knife and a small paring knife. In that case, buying 2 individual knives could take up less space and cost less. My experience has been straightforward. The knives cut cleanly, the handles stay comfortable, and the block keeps the set organized. The built-in sharpener is useful for occasional maintenance. The main things to keep in mind are the lighter feel, the counter space required, and the need to wash and dry the knives by hand. I would recommend considering this set if those points fit the way I cook and maintain kitchen tools. If I wanted a complete matching set for everyday home cooking, this would be a practical option. If I preferred very heavy knives or minimal counter storage, I would look at other choices too. If you have any questions about the Imarku 14-piece Japanese Gyutou stainless steel knife set with block, leave them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more practical product reviews. Thank you for watching.